Thanks so much for coming tonight at 5:30, which is a bit earlier than what we normally do parent nights. We've actually got another one straight after for our Year 11s moving into Year 12, so you get to stay which is lucky for you. And some of the same stuff over again, but some different things as well. Welcome back to the Technical College. Obviously, most of us have been here before, many of us have been in the building before. And been able to have that look through. And I was just reflecting a moment ago on the assembly we had today with all of our students just sitting up on the stairs, and we were able to have each of our leads come up on stage and talk to the programs and the pathways of our current Year 11s through into their Year 12 for next year. And it was amazing to be able to listen to the fact that every one of those young people has a pathway through to that fast track to a career because of the hard work that's been put in by our leads, the team around them, but also the students. And they've been the ones who have had to drive a lot of that work and a lot of that learning. And we will have Joel here for Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering to have a chat to AME parents straight after myself. We have Tara here to have a chat to anyone from Health and Social Support. And obviously I'm here tonight for Tash. Unfortunately, Tash has had COVID, which I think most of us, I've managed to escape and Joel's managed to escape, but everyone else has managed to get it this year. Tash is unfortunately away with COVID, but I'll cover off the early education tonight. The aim of tonight is to have a bit of a conversation about what does Year 11 look like in a technical college, because like Year 10, it doesn't look like a mainstream school. It's a 3-year program that we've all signed up for, Year 10 being mostly at the technical college with our day out of work experience every week, so helping develop those core competencies and soft skills for work, and building those technical skills to know that we can be successful moving into our pathway in the future. Next year though, there's a whole lot of other training that comes online and other work that comes online for students. So a regular week and a program of study will look particularly different. So before I do any of that, I would just like to do our acknowledgement. We normally show a video here, but unfortunately my sound doesn't want to play tonight. So I'd just like to acknowledge we meet today on Ghana land, and we pay our respects to the custodians of the land on which we live and learn. We respect the spiritual relationship with country and acknowledge their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to those living today. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting from other areas of South Australia and Australia. So this hasn't changed from the very first time you saw these slides. Every industry specialisation in the technical college still has its own training program, and that includes the curriculum. In Year 10, we call that PBL, Problem Project Based Learning, and that's where all the Australian curriculum core subjects were done. So your English, your maths, your science, your humanities, and some other bits alongside that in things like design and technologies or healthy lifestyles as well, and shine. We hid all the Australian curriculum content. We never said, hey, today we're doing English for 20 minutes and a bit of maths for 40 and a bit of science for an hour. We did our industry projects, and wrapped up inside of that was the Australian curriculum content. Next year though, it's the SACE. So all of our Year 10s this year did EIF, Exploring Identities and Futures. Where do I want to go and how do I know that? And that used to be called the PLP, which if you've had other students go through, you'd know that, personal learning plan. Next year though, it's that journey through the SACE. And for most of our students in Year 11 next year, by the time they finish Year 11, they will either have completed or mostly completed the SACE, but all the compulsory components of that will be done. That's a really important part of our work. Next year then, that curriculum time that was PBL is now practice and technical development. So that's time where students will undertake AIF, which is the next stage, which is activating identities and futures. So I've identified what I'd like to do, where I'd like to go and how I'd like to get there, but how do I actually activate that? How do I make that a reality? And so from next year, we're starting that in semester 1, and that'll take us across the year. We also do one SACE subject which is called Industry Connections. The purpose of Industry Connections is to take all those technical skills and workplace skills that students learn in the technical college and wrap that up inside a couple of projects. There's 4 skills tasks that they need to be able to demonstrate. So skill 1 might be related to a unit of competency from their vet course. Skills task 2 might be about a particular piece of work that I want to do, show my skill on CAD design, or maybe there's a particular task to do with health, like I think things like thickening fluids or understanding certain routines and things like that. Same for early childhood. We continue the employer connections with our, and also include our industry partners in that from next year. So the 1 day of work experience continues into next year. But next year, additional to that, is additional work experience or placements with industry partners where required. So I'll let our leads talk a bit more about that because it is different for each industry training program. And the ongoing coaching and mentoring, we're actually changing that up a little bit next year. So we're going to put more time in a week and more of our teacher resources and trainer resources into coaching and mentoring. So we've actually put aside roughly 25 minutes per student per week for coaching and mentoring across the year. That will include on-site, so supporting our students to look at what are the core skills I need to be successful, what are the technical skills I need, what's my pathway and how am I going to get there. But then also going out and doing workplace visits. So actually going out to the work site and visiting you while you're at work and seeing how things are going there. Making sure we support you through the whole program. One of the biggest steps next year will be starting to undertake vocational education and training. That is your industry-specific vet course. For the majority of you, that will be 2 days a week across the whole year. All right. So again, the leads will talk us through that a little more, but they're either Certificate 2 or Certificate 3 level full certificates, or in the case of manufacturing engineering, it's 1 full Certificate 2 and a skill set from Certificate 3 in engineering technical. Students next year will also be undertaking their industry-specific literacy and numeracy. So if you've had other students go through the SACE before, you know that to get your literacy and your numeracy signed off, traditionally you have to do a full year of English and 1 semester of maths. And within that, you might write some essays, you might read some novels, you might have a look at some poetry and study Shakespeare or any range of things. We won't be doing that. We have contextualised literacy and numeracy that is developed for us by TAFE. So there is an industry-specific literacy and numeracy course for early childhood education, 1 for health and social support, 1 for advanced manufacturing and engineering. Students can actually work through that, or some of it, at their own pace. So if they are able to move through elements of that quicker, they may be able to do so, meaning additional time for practice and technical development, additional time for students who are looking at a university pathway, or additional time in the workplace for students who pick up paid work, traineeships or apprenticeships. But there's no 100% need to fast track, it's on a needs basis. You know, it's about where you are on your journey through that literacy and numeracy. We want everyone to be successful in that. So at the end of SACE, you will then see literacy and numeracy will show up on a student's SACE pattern as granted instead of A, B, C or D. So it's competency based. It also includes that hands-on learning, so practice and technical development time lets us help students to develop and improve their specialised technical skills. That's why we have our trainers, and that's their job on those practice and technical development days to help support students to make sure they're able to complete all those units of competency for their vet courses. Or if the workplace is asking for a specific skill to be updated or improved, we have that time to set aside for that. And it gives us additional time for coaching and mentoring where it's needed. It helps with literacy and numeracy skills specific to the industry, and if we need stretch, and by stretch I mean FSK has got me to here, but I think I need my maths to be up here, or I need my literacy skills to be extended, we have that additional time through practice and technical development. And it helps us work through employability skills and that career development component, knowing where you want to go and how to go about getting there. Students will continue to not develop but update their career action plan because ideas do change. And I took a couple of students yesterday with me to talk at the Department for Education about their pathway so far through the technical college. And it was lovely to hear the stories of where they're wanting to go and how they're wanting to get there. But one of the things that resonated with me was I came here thinking I was just going to go and get a job and that was going to be what I did. And now I think I would like to get a traineeship but also go to university. Or have an apprenticeship but have university as a maybe for myself. Because I want to develop the skills and I don't want to close those doors. So making sure we keep those doors open for everyone is important. But I think key in all of this, as our students move into year 11, is this idea of understanding and managing your own work and life. So that agency that students have here to say, this is what I need to focus my work on at the moment. There's a maturity that comes with that, and that will grow and develop over the year. But I think the assembly that we saw today with those year 11 students coming down and every one of them having chosen that pathway for themselves really showed that once they take hold of that across the year, they are really successful. That one. So what are the outcomes? Well, number one, every student here completes their SACE. That is the outcome, that is what we all sign up for. Studies show that students who finish their SACE and have further education or higher education that they can leave on in the future are far more likely to not only earn more money but stay employed over the lifetime. And there isn't a lot of studies anymore that show that university gets you more money than a trade. All right, there's an equivalency that sits there. Over time, trades you certainly pay less heads. You know, in the first instance, sometimes the university catches up, but more and more, what we're hearing from all of our employer partners is it's young people who are willing to get the work, get the trade, but then be willing to keep learning and go to university and take those technical skills into the theoretical realm who are able to be the most successful. All right? Knowing that learning is a lifelong process for all of us. So in year 10 you're here most of the time, in year 11 you're here for a lot of the time, but out in industry more. It is a 3-year program and SACE is wrapped up in that year 12 year, but most of our students in that year 12 year will be off-site for the majority of that time. They'll either be off-site on a school-based traineeship or apprenticeship, but that can be a full-time school-based traineeship or apprenticeship, or they might be off-site 80% of the time on a university pathway, 1 day a week here doing practice and technical development, or part-time at university and part-time at work, either on placement or doing paid work in industry in the field. So by the time your young person hits year 12, they will have an individualised program. It won't be the whole group from early childhood is doing this, the whole group from engineering is doing this. It will be, this is me, this is the next person, this is the next person. So understanding, we'll put the hard work into making sure that's a reality for each of you. But the SACE being core to that, and traineeships and apprenticeships in particular, when we sign up to those, the school-based component being a core part of that as well. Because what that allows us to do is to continue that wraparound support. If your child needs to come in and have a day where they spend getting some additional help with some units of competency from our trainers, or having some coaching and mentoring, or some wellbeing check-ins, they can do that. They still have that access. They access a laptop and all the training materials that will sit in behind that as well for that period of time. So it allows us to stay connected, because the other studies that are really important actually show that young people who are connected to school for longer are less likely to drop out of traineeships, apprenticeships and university in those first years. The longer we maintain those connections, the more powerful they are, the more likely we are not to have those dropout rates. And it is a fast track, and that's probably the other key thing. You know, for the right students at the right point in time, they can start university while they're in year 12. But it doesn't have to be a full-time program. It could be part-time uni, part-time work in a day. Or it could be full-time uni because that's right for you. Or it could be a full-time school-based apprenticeship because that's right for you. So it's about successfully starting the traineeship, apprenticeship, university through enabling studies from next year. School-based apprenticeships can be picked up at any time across year 10, 11 or 12. There's not a, it has to happen at the end of term 1, term 2, term 3 or term 4. It can happen at any time. Traditionally, it's kind of towards the end of the year that a lot of those things happen, but opportunities will arise through the year next year. We then sign it up as school-based, which is a really easy thing to do. Once your child has finished their SACE journey, those 3 years, 10, 11 and 12, the end of year 12, there's one single piece of paperwork that needs to be signed that converts it from school-based to a full-time apprenticeship. We don't just cut ties at that point and go, good luck and see you later. We continue that ongoing support for that one more year post leaving the technical college as well. So those ongoing check-ins, making sure everything's going okay, will continue through that time. So really, it's really a partnership between the employer, the student, the family and the technical college. So everyone working together to make sure that this is a really successful pathway for a child. To help with that, we've actually partnered up this year with Mass National. Mass National are an ACAP, or they used to be called ASINs, but they're the people who support the sign-up, well, they're one of the groups that support the sign-up process for trainees and apprentices. They service about 60% of the state. So when we have a student who's ready to sign up for a traineeship or an apprenticeship, our leads will give them a form that says, here's the young person who's ready. That's either because we've identified that through our work, and employers come to us and said we're ready, or the students come to us and said, hey, I've been talking to my boss and I think this could be a go. We give the lead form to Maz, they will go and do a lot of that lead work for us. They'll go and talk to the employer, here's all the things that you need to know, here's the incentives that sit behind this. If you're not registered, here's how to go through that process. And then they'll bring all the parties together to make sure that sign-up happens. So that's a really effective partnership for us, and it's just another piece of that wraparound support for students. The last piece of the puzzle is the pathways to university, and this is built into the industry training programs in Year 11. Students can undertake enabling studies through Flinders University. This year you would have heard it called Foundation Studies. It all gets a bit messy when we call that Foundation Studies, and we've also got FSK, which we all get a bit confused around that. Enabling studies really can start any time from the beginning of Year 10 and go right through, but there is a compulsory component of enabling studies which students will undertake in semester 2 of Year 11 if that's their pathway. Completion of that results in an offer of study at university the following year in either a full-time load, 8 units of study, or a part-time load, which is anything from 2 units up to 6. Students will then be invited to enrol at university, to attend O-Week, put their plan of study together, and then actually start attending university on site. Flinders University for some of that time next year have committed, I think for early childhood, to actually coming and delivering some of that on site, but then some of it obviously also will be off-site. So, as I said, successful completion means students can then be offered those units from first year study in an associated degree, which means that guaranteed pathway to university while in Year 12. And all they need to do is complete those units of study in Year 12. They don't then need an ATAR, they just move straight into the university system. Really exciting way to go about it. The feedback I've received for all of our students so far who are doing that enabling studies is that in most cases, or in many of those cases, they're actually better prepared than a lot of first year students they've seen before because they've been living it for a whole year. They know the questions, they know the information, they know the industry. They've not picked it because their ATAR said these are the courses you can pick. They've picked it because it's what they want to do. Currently, they're the degrees that we have access to for our students, but I know Tara will be looking at that and saying that's not right anymore because we actually have pathways for health through to things like physiotherapy now that are coming on board as well. Also know early childhood education, our students can apply for scholarships that will take them most of the way through university, meaning that they can come out with a full degree and virtually no HEC step. So really exciting time for students to be able to undertake this training. So what are the expectations? So our expectations of students across next year to continue to uphold the values and the conduct expectations that we have. That will have a bit of a renewed emphasis on that for next year. I think students have been building really well towards that across this year. Engage with all learning requirements. So that's engaging with their SAY subjects and their VET course. You can't graduate from the Tech College without completing those core components, so that's really important. Commit to that full 3 years of the Tech College program. This is the one that you guys are going to love. Attend from 8 to 4. So it's a work day. It's a longer day, but it's about getting used to that being your work day. So when they come in the morning, they'll sign in over to the left of the building at 8, or sign out at 4 at the end of the day. The start of the day, we'll have that time that we will call crew, coaching and mentoring time to bring people together. The vet training generally will start at 9 o'clock and finish at 4 o'clock on those particular days. FSK starts at 8:30 and finishes at around 3:30. The other thing, and probably most importantly, is that demonstrator readiness and suitability to fast track yourself to work or to university, because ultimately they're the goals that we have for you. You guys, the students, as opposed to the parents, they've done their hard work, they're supporting you now as well. So that's our expectations of the students for next year. That's really the time that I wanted to spend talking from an overview perspective. What I'd like to do now is offer you the opportunity to go with Tara or with Joel. Actually, Joel, you'll stay here because I think there's most parents from advanced manufacturing and engineering, or with myself to have a chat about early childhood. So Joel, we've got yourself or Tara, you're going to head over here. So if you're